welcome everyone to our third workshop. My name is Victoria Zia, and as always, like I always mention, I am the Anti-Human Trafficking Youth Worker here at FCJ. Today's workshop, we're going to be talking about reading effectively and taking useful notes. So before I get started, I know I've been talking about this for the last two workshops, but I do believe we have a few new participants joining us today. I know there's at least one new participant joining us, so I just wanted to talk about this once again and also remind everyone, if you are interested in this, please make sure to email me and I'll send you the application for you to fill out. I already have a few applications from people in this workshop that have filled it out and have sent it to me. So if you still are interested, please just email me and I'll send you the application. So for the one who, I believe it's just one person, but I'm just gonna go over it again if you forgot what this is. So the Uprooted program is an access to education program that incorporates foundational academic skill building and implementation of these skills. So it's meant to fill the educational gap between high school to university and college. It's a great program for youth who want to prepare themselves, or for adults as well, who want to prepare themselves for post-secondary studies as well as practice their English. So the program is going to be available in January 2022. Right now it's going to be on Thursdays from 11 to 1. It will be for 9 weeks. And if you join the program, you will get a certificate at the end. Okay, so let's get into our workshop today. What does reading effectively mean? So reading effectively, what that means is overall is that it helps you understand, evaluate, and reflect on a written text. So always, every time when you're writing, it always begins with good reading, right? So every time you read, you're exposed to someone else's ideas, to their way of writing, their word choice, their vocabulary, their knowledge base, their language, and so forth. Reading, obviously, you all know that reading is such a very important thing. And we read every single day of our lives. And so reading effectively, and what it means is that it really helps you to, as I was reading before, to just understand the text. If you're reading effectively, you are understanding, you are evaluating the text, and you are reflecting on the written text as well. So as you may know, these skills, reading effectively is extremely important for those college students, university students, or in general, if you're trying to communicate, or if you're trying to, looking for the word, but it's okay. If you're trying to communicate, with the newspapers you're reading, or with like magazines, if you're trying to read and become more educated on, the issues that are happening in the world, reading effectively is also really important as well. So the more effectively you read, the easier it'll be, the less time it will take, and the more you'll enjoy the experience. I know a lot of people, especially when you're in school, reading is like, it's really heavy. So the readings are really heavy. And sometimes you're reading, it's like, I don't even want to read this. Like, I have to read it. But what reading effectively does is that it helps you actually enjoy what you're reading, or maybe find purpose in what you're reading. And so we're going to be talking about that today. So before I get into reading effectively, of course, I wanted to first talking about taking useful notes. The reason why I wanted to start with note-taking is because before you even begin reading anything, any, let's say, document, or any reading for class, anything, it's really important to know how to take useful notes, right? Your own personal notes as well, and even notes for school. So taking notes is important when you're trying to learn something new, when you're trying to prepare for a test, time management purposes, or just in everyday life. As I'm sure most of you know, when you begin your learning journey, or when you're in school, oftentimes you would purchase like a notebook, or you would have like a notepad to take important notes. And so oftentimes these notes are used to study for like tests, they're used to write essays, or they're used to review what you have learned as well. So notes are obviously, taking useful notes are extremely important. It definitely goes hand in hand with time management. So as you remember, if you attended our last workshop last week, we talked a lot about time management, and we talked about how to organize yourself in a way where you're able to complete all the tasks that you want to get done. And so writing notes, taking useful notes is extremely important for time management as well. Whether you're writing notes in a planner or an agenda, whether you're trying to organize your tasks, is extremely important for organization. And so just to give you an example, so I actually, I went to university for 4 years, and then after I went to college. So this is an example of how I guess my planner, I have a little agenda here of how it looked like in March 2021. So this is why it's important to take notes. I don't know if you could see, but so you see I have like highlighting here, so I put highlighters. I highlighted the subjects and I put the subjects here, and I also have like the different days that it was due. So March 2021 was a very busy month for me. I had a lot of things to do, and so that is a part of note taking. So time management and note taking, organizing yourself in a planner, writing when things are due, writing when you have to get things done. It's so important so that you could plan ahead, right? And it all goes hand in hand, right? Taking useful notes and also time management. I also wanted to show you, so I wish I brought this last week, but it's still the same thing. So this is kind of like, it's very rough to-do list that I had back in March 22nd. So I have like a to-do list of all the things that I had to get done. And here are like the boxes that I check marked. But yeah, that's kind of like I had to get done that week. So it's kind of like the life of a student. So it's really important. That's why I'm emphasizing that taking useful notes is extremely important. And that does include in your planners or in your agendas, or even like your notepad on your phone as well. It's important for organization purposes as well, and to just kind of organize your thoughts too. So I do have, so yeah, here I didn't go over this, but the note-taking tools, I wrote notebook and tabs, sticky notes, highlighters, pens, pencils, tabs, and dividers. And so I'm going to be talking about this and just how you can use these to its full potential. But these are just some of the key tools that you'll be using or needing if you want to organize yourself more, especially when you're taking notes. Next slide. Okay. So number one. So this is in relation to note taking. So have a notebook, notepad, a planner, or even an app on your phone if you don't want to, if you prefer that, ready to keep notes. So one thing that really helped me while I was in school, and as I am currently working right now, is to create tabs for my notebooks. So this is definitely something that's really helped me organize my different assignments or different class assignments, even for work as well. So what tabs are these right here, right? So those are tabs. And here as well, you see in this, there's like a journal here, and there's tabs on the side. So that's definitely super useful when you're taking notes, to have tabs on the side of your notebook, or any notebook or any notepad that you have, just so you could keep your thoughts organized, especially when you have multiple different classes, or even at work when you have multiple different projects or just different things going on at work. Having tabs is so important to just kind of separate that. So just, I have another example here. This is my current work notebook. It's a very rough tab type situation going on here. So these are homemade because, you know, the tabs at Walmart, they're pretty expensive. So if you want to go for an affordable choice, what I did was I grabbed a sticky note and I just put it on the side here, right? And I divided my pages. I just put it like this, like that. So then dividing all the different projects that I have going on here. And so you could do that as well. Like, for example, like I have like a tab for like general notes. You can't really see it, general notes. And so I would always open up this section of my notebook here to write notes, just general notes or notes that don't really apply to any of my other tabs. I have a tab here for the workshop series, Uprooted workshop series, that's back here. So when I'm taking attendance, I open that part of my notebook and I write down the attendance of everyone that participated here. So this is definitely something that saved my life, even in school as well. I had tabs for my notebooks in school for the different subjects that I would take and the different courses. It's extremely useful to just divide your notes, to divide your projects as well. So like I said, you can buy them at the store, but oftentimes they're a little pricey. At least for me, I like saving my money. So you can literally just buy sticky notes at the dollar store and just put it on the side of your notebook. And that works as well. If you're using a notepad on your phone, on the phone it's different, but I would always suggest to, here's like a little example here. I would suggest if you have different notes, have it for different subjects, and have like the title of each note there. So for example, here you say baby gift ideas for kids, landscaping ideas. So I would suggest, if you want to write notes on your phone, to have different notes already created, and put the headings on each, so then you know which notes belong in which, right? So it's just a good organization technique when you're trying to write notes for different subjects or just different areas in your life as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, and here I wrote another thing, that have different notes for different subjects and make sure to title each note so you know what to turn to. Yeah, just that's like the key thing, to always put a title in everything. I think I talk about this more later on, but always put a title. Yes, that is the next one. So don't forget to write the date and title. So this is an example of my notes that I took in university. I took a psychology course. As you can see here, it was about personality disorders. And it's just a little example that I found at home. So here you see that I wrote November 27th. I put the title, and I even put the page numbers that we were focusing on. And so, yeah, so I think it's extremely important. Some people do this, some people don't. But for myself, and whatever works for you, to write did someone say something in the chat? Yeah, okay, no worries. So yeah, so I think it's extremely important to write a title and the date, so then you know what the notes are talking about. You know, way too many times I've found myself in situations where even in my general notes section of my notebook, I'll just write one word, right, from a meeting or something, one word, and then I go back to it and I'm like, what is this about again? I don't even remember writing this. So every time you write notes, it's just a good tip is to don't forget to write the date and the title. It is a good indicator of why you wrote the notes and for what subject. Write a title. Yes, so a title and the date is just really important when you're trying to organize your notes as well, when you're trying to look back, when you're studying, or even in your everyday life. Anything that you're currently working on that you're really busy with, you know, writing the date and the title of what the note is just, it's important for you to know what exactly you're writing about. A third tip for writing notes is to use bullet points, dashes, or any symbol to organize your notes. So this is not my writing. I wish I had this writing. I found this on the internet, but this is a good example. I love how it says, you know, chapter 6 was like in cursive. So this person didn't write the date, but they do have a title up there. So I just use this as an example to show you how using bullet points, so one of these, dashes, stars, arrows, whatever you like, to organize your notes really helps. So for example, this person here, what they did was they wrote the title, I guess the heading, in a different color. Even if you have different color pens, you could do that too. They have bullet points going under, so they know that the sentences belong to that heading. They also have arrows here. So there is a bullet point and there's an arrow connecting to the bullet point, obviously showing that the next sentence is connected to that bullet point. So these are just some techniques to help you organize your note taking when you're taking notes, or even when you're planning, even for planning in general. If you're planning a birthday party, if you're planning anything, these are really helpful, using bullet points, dashes, stars, and arrows. Usually I use stars when it's something really important. So I would just always do a star, or I would like underline it, make sure that I don't forget, right? So these are just some tips that you could use to organize your notes as well. Again, my notes are making an appearance again. So highlighters are your best friends. So what I mean by that is I'm a huge highlighter person. I love my highlighters. So I love having different colored highlighters, and mentally, this is, for me, for example, here, pink would represent like the title, the main title. Green represents like the headings, and then yellow represents the subject under the headings, important subjects. And so that's for me personally. For you, it could definitely be different depending on the type of highlighters you have. It could totally be different. But yeah, highlighting is definitely one of the tools you could use to also organize your notes. And oftentimes you'll see people use different colors depending what titles you're using, what headings and what notes. People would use like different colors for different subjects. It's all up to you, but this is just an example of how you can use highlighters to your advantage. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what I just talked about, or any comments? Maybe some thing you would like to add about note taking or what you do to organize yourself?
No questions. Thank you.
No questions? Okay. Great. Awesome. Okay. So I hope this is really useful. I know honestly, this really helped me when I was in school. And I learned these things when I was in school. And then I use them in my work life where I'm working right now. I use them in my personal life when I'm planning birthday parties or when I'm planning stuff, I don't know, for my family. These tips have really helped me. And this is stuff that I learned at school. And I wish someone told me when I first started school, when I first started trying to organize myself. So I really hope it's helpful in some way. Okay. Reading effectively as an English language learner. So the reason why I wanted to specify as an English language learner is that I know some of you don't have English as your first language, which is totally fine. But there are some techniques that can help you when you're trying to read some documents, or when you're trying to read a newspaper, a magazine, or when you're in school and you're reading certain essays, or you're doing some very heavy readings. I wanted to include some tips for those who don't have English as their first language as well. So here I just wrote like a little, like a thing for the tools, just a little, so then you would know, like when you're reading, it's really important, beside you, and I'm going to talk about this, to help you in your reading, to maybe have like a notepad, to have a pen or a pencil, and sticky notes. I have like a few sticky notes here beside me, so I could show you. I love sticky notes. I use them all the time for work too. But when you're reading anything, and you're trying to learn something new, always try to have like a notebook beside you. And I'm going to give you some tips on how you could use all of those tools to your fullest advantage. So yes, I'm going to do a little activity. So tips to help you read effectively. Okay. So as I mentioned, in order to read effectively, it's important to comprehend what you are reading. Okay. So yeah, as I said, those who are English language learners who have English as their second language and are not fully confident yet, These are just some tips that might help you out when you're trying to read something. And so first, have a notepad beside you as you are reading. So if when you're trying to practice your reading, or when you're trying to practice maybe your English or just anything, when you're trying to practice or you just want to read for fun, if you like, and you want to learn something new, I highly suggest you have like your notebook beside you and use the tips that we just talked about note writing, note taking. Put the title, put the date, put the heading of what the reading is, the title of the article, whatever you're reading. And then right under that, you could write your notes. Okay. Especially anywhere when you're taking workshops, when you're taking informational sessions. It's really important, to always have a notebook to beside you as you are reading, or when you're taking notes, or even when you're learning, right? Another, hold on, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so as you're writing your notes, when you're reading, just make sure not to rewrite everything. Oftentimes you will be very tempted, and I was super tempted. I did this all the time and I regret it. When I was in school, when you have a reading to do, when you have a very heavy reading and you're reading through it and you're writing down everything, it's like you're rewriting the whole article, right? And so it's really important to try to just write keynotes, just the keynotes that you find that stand out to you from the article, so that you are able to read effectively and get through the reading, whatever it may be. Another tip that I found actually online is that before you read out loud, scan the text that you're reading. So you should be able to get like the gist of the article, to get an idea of what the article or the reading is talking about, before you actually read it. And so I just wanted to do, I wanted to do a little activity with everyone here. I have an article linked here. Give me 1 second. I think I have it open. Yes. So I have an article linked here. All right. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate the point about just scanning the text. So before you even start reading, trying to understand what they're saying, you can look through the entire text, look at the pictures. If it's an article, like a news article, you can look at the title, look at the picture, and try to get an idea of what it's going to be talking about, right? So this is a specific example here that I found actually a while ago. So just for me, here scrolling through here, what do you think? So this is just me skimming the article and seeing the title. She couldn't find bandages to match her skin tone, so she launched Heal in Color. So from just me skimming through this, what do you think the article is about? Just a question for everyone. Skimming through it. What do you think the article is about?
Can can you please repeat the question? Which articles?
Pardon?
I can't open the article. It's
Oh,
not
do you see it?
open.
Oh, do you see it on my screen? No?
No,
Oh no.
the
Okay,
PowerPoint.
give me 1 second. I'm sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Let me go again. So I'm going to scroll through it. It reads, she couldn't find bandages to match her skin tone, so she launched Heal in Color. And here, I'm just skimming through the article. So you see a picture here. You see another picture. Okay. So from just me quickly skimming through this, what do you think the article is talking about?
It's talk about the plasters or bandage in the same color of skin.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely like the obvious thing that pops out. Yeah. Anything else, Sylvia?
I think the article is about a lady
Mhm,
who is a different type of a skin.
mhm,
She tried to get the perfect skin tone, perfect makeup for her skin tone. She couldn't find it on lipstick. So it opened her mind wide to go to think about different skin tone types, which matches her skin for maybe to help other people who face the same problem.
mhm. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Sylvia, for explaining that. Anyone else have
Oh,
anything to add? What you think it might be about?
Yeah, obviously talk about the skin color
Mhm,
and how you protect I don't know, your hands or your body, but with the bands in the same color than the skin.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for participating. Yeah, definitely. You guys definitely hit all the key points there. Someone is that Didi?
Um, I believe it's got to do a lot with the color issue that we've been having in the past
Mhm,
year or so. So the same way that they're trying to do colors to match different ethnical groups at the moment, to do with first aid.
mhm,
So she would like to see or is launching a band-aid that literally matches the skin tone, not just one that matches the Caucasian ethnical people or whatever, something like that.
mhm. Definitely. Thank you so much for bringing that point up, Didi. It's very true. You could assume, safely assume, that the article might most likely will go in depth about probably the race issue here in Canada or anywhere in the world. There's a race issue, and how there is a lack of availability for for bandages in the same color as other people, right? There's only white here. There's only like a white, like pale color, and here you could assume that this woman created a bandage that for her skin tone to address this issue. So yeah, thank you, Didi. So this is definitely an example of what I mean by skimming. So before you read anything, it could seem intimidating. You're like, okay, I don't understand what this is going to talk about. You could always skim through if it's an article, newspaper, or even if it's just like something with no pictures, even just looking through at how many pages it is or some keywords that pop out will help you understand, just have an idea of what it's going to be talking about, the article or paper or anything is going to be talking about before you actually read into it. So I just wanted to bring briefly that example, and I'll definitely, if you want to read the article, I'll actually link it in the chat if you want to read it. We're going to be, I don't think we have time. We don't have time. I wanted to read it together, but we're just running out of time now. So I'll put in the chat, and if you like, we could all read it. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So another tip that we could do. By the way, sorry if I have mic problems. If you can't hear me properly or if there's like this weird loud noise, please let me know. Right now I'm using my laptop mic, so it might be a little bit of problems there. So yeah, thank you for everyone for participating. So another thing that I wanted to mention about reading effectively is look up unfamiliar words. So especially if English is your second language or you're not fully confident in reading an article that's in English or any document or anything, it's really important that when you are reading anything, when you are reading through it, and let's say if there's a word you don't understand, oftentimes people will stop, search up the word, and then go back and read it. But actually, studies have shown that it's really important for you to keep reading. So if you don't understand a word, again, have your trusty notebook or notepad, write down the word that they are talking about, and keep reading. The reason why I say that is because oftentimes when you stop reading and you search it up and everything, you lose your focus. You lose what you were just reading, or maybe you lose your place in the article that you were reading. And so your train of thought just completely is gone. And so it's really important that when you are reading something like a really long document or an article, if you don't understand a word, you can always just write it down on a piece of paper beside you. And then when you're done, you can always look at the words. You can search them up when you're done. And then you can look back at the article and be like, oh, and read the sentence again. Okay, that's what that means. And like I said, the reason why it saves you a lot of time instead of just stopping and then like, okay, and then searching it up and then trying to find the definition and all that stuff. It saves you a lot of time. And also it's really important to just continue reading. So then all that information could just flow into you instead of you just stopping and then getting your phone or getting distracted or anything. So another point to help you read effectively is to write down questions about things you don't understand. So a lot of times when we're reading an article, like I know just to go back to when I used to teach ESL here at FCJ, a lot of my students, what they would say is that they would say that they're great at reading. They could read articles, they could read everything, they're amazing at it. But at the end, when they asked what was the article about, no one had a clue, right? And so you could be an amazing reader, but then actually knowing what the article is about, it's the comprehension part was the part that people had trouble with, right? And they didn't really have an idea. And so another good tip for yourself is that when you are reading and focusing, when you find yourself in a situation where you don't understand what the article is saying, then it's really important to just have your notepad and write it down, like the question down on your notepad. So then you could look back. So when you're done the reading, you could look back and be like, okay, so let's say if the question was, what's the brand of the bandage, that this woman is talking about? Let's say you had that question. Oftentimes when you write it down, and then oftentimes when you keep reading, you'll find your answer, instead of just stopping and trying to figure it out. Oftentimes you find your answer as you keep reading. So that's just like another good tip as well. When you have your notepad beside you, you could scan the text first, you write down unfamiliar words, some questions you have, and then when you're done the reading, you can go back and try to figure it out. Okay, does anyone have any questions about that so far?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, when, for example, I'm reading a subject matter, and if that has some 2-3 paragraphs, if in the first paragraph I find unfamiliar words, which is not clear for me, in order to go to the second paragraph, I need to first understand fully about what is talking about the first paragraph. So my practice is first to check to go. For example, if I get unfamiliar word, I have to see in the dictionary and if I know what it means, then I go back. I'll have full understanding about the first paragraph and I go to the next one. If I go, like what we are learning today, if I pass and just go to the second paragraph, I'll not have full understanding on the first one. So it will be difficult for me to go and then come back and understand. So do you think that this way also is possible, like to check for some of the important words or unfamiliar sentences?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Of course, yeah. Honestly, at the end of the day, these are tips. So if you have anything else that works for you in your reading comprehension, please go ahead with that. You're absolutely right. A lot of people, oftentimes, let's say if you read the first paragraph, it's like, okay, I literally didn't understand anything. And for me to continue on into the article, I need to understand this first paragraph. So yeah, of course, if it works for you, you could definitely, write down the words that you don't understand and then search it up, and then you could go back and read it again. If that works for you. I suggest still to write it down just for future reference. Maybe if you read another article or another reading, maybe the same word will get you stumped and you could always look back in your notes. Okay, that's what that means. So Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Dee Dee, you had your hand up?
I was just going to suggest that I'm not sure if he's reading an article on the computer or not, but if you're doing it on a book or a computer, you can always open up, for example, the your Microsoft Word on your computer, and you can always copy paste the word and then look it up like on the thesaurus, and it'll give you a breakdown of easier words that actually what that word means, how do you pronounce it, and how you actually use that word in a proper sentence.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually did not know that. So that is a really useful tip. If you're on your computer or on your phone or not on your phone, just on your computer, if you have Microsoft Word, yeah, you can always copy and paste it into a document and then check like the definition, or what you said, Dee, you could see like the definition and how to use the word as well. So yeah, thank you. Sylvia, you had a question?
No, I'm just just adding on. Okay, to me, what I think reading, the more you read, it helps to expand your knowledge. Maybe let me say you're on Google, you've typed in a word to read about. It will expand and give you more like new words you didn't know. I think continuing reading and like keeping it as a practice, it helps to expand the knowledge.
Yes, thank you, Sylvia, for sharing. Yeah, that's definitely what we're gonna talk about. Actually, it's a good segue into the next slide. How do I become a better reader? Thank you. Well, before I get into this, anyone else have any other comments? All good? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. This is what I like. Obviously, I'm not like an expert here. Everyone here has their own expertise. So I love when everyone shares their own experience with reading and also note-taking. So yeah, so I guess I can move into my next slide from what Sylvia mentioned, is that yes, reading in general, reading every day is so important. It's important, like what Sylvia mentioned, to expand your knowledge, to expand your academic expertise as well. And even it's like a muscle. Like
you continue with the article. Do you want to change to PowerPoint?
Is it still on the article? Why? Okay, give me 1 second. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So this was, can everyone see the slides now? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay. Okay. As I was saying, yeah, so reading every day is so important. It exercises the brain, or your brain, right? And it makes you accustomed to how sentences are formed. So again, going back to those who have English as their second language, reading in English is a must, because it trains your brain to see how the words are formed and put together, right? And that's how it is for anyone who's trying to learn a second language. Reading definitely helps you practice those language muscles, and it helps you expand your knowledge, as what Sylvia said. And so, yes, reading every day, whether it's a book, a magazine, an online blog, yeah, all of that you could definitely do to help you become a better reader. The second point I wrote here is learn and practice the skills of effective reading. So that includes everything that I just mentioned, and obviously everything that all of you had just mentioned right now as well, how to practice your skills of effective reading. But also it includes some of these questions as well. So like I said, sometimes when you're reading something, or like, especially when you're in school and you have like a reading to do, it's like, sometimes you just don't want to do it. It's like really boring, or it's like really long. You're just like, oh, do I have to do this? So one thing that could help you, I guess, could help you find more purpose or meaning in what you're reading is asking yourself these questions. So kind of trying to, it's like a task for yourself, a task for your brain. Like, okay, you know, I'm sitting here right now and I want to know, what's the author's point? What does the author want to know? Okay, as I'm reading, you have like these tasks, these mental tasks to figure that out, and it makes you want to keep reading so you could figure that out, right? Another thing is, what is the text trying to say? What story is the author telling? And this could be with anything, you know, especially in university or college, they'll give you readings about argumentative pieces, about social issues. There's always a story or a point that the author is trying to make, because it's all opinion based, right? But let's say if even if you are trying to, if it's something else, completely something else, like if you're getting into engineering, maybe I didn't do engineering, but maybe there might be some engineering textbooks or anything like that that you're trying to get through. Even asking yourself, okay, so what exactly am I trying to learn here? Okay, what is the point of this section here? You know, what are they trying to teach me here? And just knowing that will give you more of a push or more of a purpose to just keep reading and try to figure that out, right? And of course, writing the notes on the side too of the key points. So another thing that you could do is to reflect on what the text means to you. So how am I responding to this text? Why am I responding that way? So this is more towards texts that are opinion based, or like certain like social science related academic papers, or even like newspapers or whatever. So one way to be a better reader or an effective reader is also just positioning yourself as you're reading it. So how do I feel about this? How am I responding to this? What does this text make me think about? What does this information mean to me? And the reason why I'm telling you this is because actually next week, we're going to be talking about reflective thinking and essay writing. So these questions is the beginning of your journey when you are writing an essay, right? When you're writing an essay, you're writing an opinion, right? An opinion, or even if it's just informational essay, you are trying to come across with a point, and you're trying to come across with some knowledge. And so we're going to talk about this more next week, but another way to become a better reader or even practice your reading skills and even have your own opinion and to have your own voice is to ask yourself these questions. How am I responding? Why? What does this text make me think about? And what does this information mean to me? I find that asking yourself these questions help you understand the text a lot better and even find your voice in it as well.
What is the topic for the next class?
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my next slide.
Connection. We have a good connection.
Yes, exactly. We're all in the same mindset. Yeah, so now we're coming to the end of the workshop. I actually finished on time, thank goodness. So our next workshop for November 22nd is going to be Reflective Thinking and Essay Writing Part 1. And so we're going to be talking about what I just mentioned to you, just kind of your position, your identity, and how you could position yourself before you write that essay, or just kind of how you could find the ideas to write the essay as well. And then the other workshops, we have Essay Writing Part 2 coming on the 29th. We're going to have a professional from a program called License to Learn come in and teach you guys all about essay writing. So that's going to be interesting. And then the 6th, we're going to talk about self-care. I'll be doing that one. And it's definitely a topic that I really love talking about. Is there any questions before we close off? I'm going to stop before you ask questions. I'm going to stop the sharing. Pause the sharing.